A podcast of one's own, challenging the status quo, keeping feminist discourse in the limelight, striving for gender equality. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in again. Welcome to episode 2 of A Podcast of One's Own. So, this podcast was amazing. I was joined by the rest of the exec, who really are just beautiful people inside and out. And this podcast was dedicated to our own personal experiences and understanding of feminism. And so this was such a gorgeous opportunity for us to express our various stances and personal journeys. And it shows how multifaceted and versatile the feminist movement really is. And we also discussed, or essentially bigged up, Gen Soc, but every word was true. We actually got quite emotional at some point, so I hope this episode gives insight into what the society means for us and what role it plays for our members and the university as a whole. So without further ado, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 2, a podcast of one's own. Hello everyone. So we're going to start off with our fabulous president, Esther. Hello Esther, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm really excited.
Me too. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why you wanted to get involved in Gen Soc? Take us back.
Yes, I feel like I've said this so many times because we always introduce it like this, but I think it's a really good way to start off. When I moved to Edinburgh, I was looking over at the different societies and stuff that Napier had. And this was the only one that I really knew beforehand that I wanted to join because I think it's something that's really important and it kind of like is a part of my daily life, always, though it has been for so long. I felt like it was important, especially on campus and in the uni kind of environment to incorporate it.
And I believe you've said before that feminism is one of your core values. It's really quite defining for you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think if people would ask me what my interests are, like, it sounds so random, but it's like, yeah, the feminist movement's definitely both my, like, what I really care about the most and what I'm most interested about. Like, yeah, I think.
Nice. Where did that stem from?
I can't really figure. I was thinking about what my defining moment with feminism was, and I thought it was really difficult to kind of figure it out because I feel like I've always identified as a feminist, even when I was really young, or maybe like 12 or 13. I remember being around my girlfriends, and they would say that they didn't really identify as feminist, or they would never really want to be associated with that word, and that was pretty. Like, I feel like that was pretty early. Obviously, feminism had been around for a long time during the different waves, but it was just then getting to be kind of a concept that we started dealing with. But I think I never had a problem with the word feminist, and I think a lot of it came from like school environments, how I really noticed so often and so clearly how boys and girls are treated so differently in a school environment, especially when you're at that age. But different expectations and what people can get away with and stuff like that. Like, even just I remember specifically it was in PE. The boys could be basically, they could do anything. They could be so like running around, not paying attention, like screaming, making so much noise. And I actually remember at one point my PE teacher said, "Oh no, but can't really tell them anything. Like, boys will be boys." And she was a woman as well. And I just remember that really like stuck with me. I was like, that's so unfair. That's just incredible. And I don't think that was a defining moment, but that's one thing that I do remember.
And now that you're a woman, what does feminism mean for you now that you've moved on to the next step in your life and at university, moved abroad?
Oh, I don't know. For me, it's become more of something that I incorporate in my daily life all the time, and it's a lot about training myself and how I think and act. It's not only about how I try to. A big part of it is trying to change society and whatever community I'm in, but it's also a lot about internal things. Like, I have to remind myself of what I'm taught to, like, what different conditions I'm taught to kind of stay under based on the patriarchal structures and what is actually me. Kind of like catch myself and try to adjust my behavior towards myself and others. I think it's become more of an individual movement for me as I've gotten older.
Yeah, the revolution starts with the individual, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that about your personal journey into feminism?
I think I would just want to add that it's probably the one thing that's made me find some of the best people that I've met in my life. I think it's like when you have something that you care about so much, and you can kind of bond about that and share that with someone else and other people, that creates really good friendships, which I think is great.
It does. We all love you.
I love you too.
Lovely. So Victoria is our very talented and dedicated secretary,
Well, thank
who's going to
you.
tell us a little bit about her. What brought you into Gen Soc?
Tying back to what Esther was just saying, actually, my first year of uni, loved it, but there was something that was missing, which was a clique of people to share my more political and activist side with, and which was something I was always able to do back home in Italy, either with my family, who is very much, our Sunday meals would be just us arguing about politics and activism. And when I moved here, that was kind of missing. Yeah, I had friends to talk about this type of stuff, but I always felt like I was a bit more all or nothing than them, by which I mean I was much more invested in the topic that they were. So there weren't really many occasions for me to actually sit down and, have this type of talk. So when I'm a very organized person and I love organizing, so before every term starts, I like at least a month before going through all of the project that the uni has and stuff like that, and also go to all of the A to Z I don't know how to pronounce it here, list of societies and sports that the uni offers. So when I saw that there was a gender equality society, I remember like immediately going, oh wait, this is amazing, going on to the Facebook page, seeing that you guys had just started, because I was like, wait, did I miss this in my first year? No way I missed this. So I was so happy. So, and when I started, I was a bit like, I don't know if I'm going to share the same opinion as other people, or what type of group this is going to be. So, but once I started, like Esther was saying, I just realized that I found the place that I was looking for, the place with like other people. I want to say like-minded, but that's just like not vast enough, because yes, we share the same values, but the great thing about Gen Soc is that at the end of the day, we all have our own personalities, strong personalities, and we all have our opinions. And I appreciate about Gen Soc the fact that even if you guys are aware that I may not be on the same page as you on different things, or I know that some of your opinions I don't really agree with, that's for me, it's it's an occasion to grow and to like expand my knowledge and my point of view, which is what I love about Gen Soc. Yeah.
Oh, that was beautiful. I'm like tearing up. I've got my makeup on for date night. So. Yeah, I think that was a really beautiful point. That we're not a group of individuals that have exactly the same viewpoints, that agree with one another. And I think that's really important for social change.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to add about your journey to become the beautiful feminist that you are?
Thank you. You make me blush. The only thing I like to add is that there is no starting. Most of us, I think, could agree there is no specific starting point. It's a evolution. So if you feel like, oh, I can't start now because I'm 20 or 21 or 22, it's too late now. People already know so much more than I do. That's not true. Like, it's not school. You don't have to have a test. It's just you have to believe in the fight and share it. And that's it.
Nice. So we're going to move on to John, our token male and the exec.
Hello.
And John is our treasurer.
Indeed, yes.
So tell us more, John. What would you like to share?
Well, how about how I sort of joined Gen Soc? Because I think you're at fault for that.
Yeah.
You're responsible for me being in this society. I'm a direct entry student. I came in second year, and I sort of came into a university class where everyone knew one another and everyone had their own groups of people that we're friends with, and that was quite isolating for like the first wee bit. And I remember sitting in some class, it might actually be in this class we're recording this in right now, and you were in the row in front of me and just turned around and went, "Hello, you're new." And then I was like, "Yeah," and just offered and just went, "Oh yeah, do you want to go to a society meeting tonight?" And I was like, "Okay, yes." And I was I very tentatively went along. I didn't know what to expect from the Edinburgh Napier Gender Equality Society in the slightest. And I was really, really pleasantly surprised. There was just a wonderful community of fantastic people there. And it just kind of led me down this massive rabbit hole, I suppose, that's now got me as the treasurer of a society at Napier. What happened?
If only you knew.
If only I knew.
that fateful day in class.
Yeah, and that's kind of it. That's kind of the journey to me being here. It's a very strange one because it's not something I ever expected to come into when I came to university. I didn't think I'd join any societies, actually. And now I'm helping run one, which is a bit madness.
And doing a great job.
Oh, thank you very much.
But you hadn't really thought much about feminism or gender equality before, had you?
No, not really.
This was quite educational for you as well.
Yeah, it absolutely was. I mean, I had sort of some of my views set out, which were, vaguely feminist, but I wouldn't call them feminist views. I just kind of assumed that they were a given. And then coming along, not only did I meet a lot of people that affirmed those views and helped define and shape them and taught me a lot more, they also taught me that these are not views that are a given. These are not views that are held by a good portion of the population, which I think is a really, really important part of what we do at Gen Soc. As well as, learning like a lot and realizing that you can be wrong. And that's okay. It's okay to be wrong and then learn, other things on top of that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point. That's why we need our society and that's why we meet up. It's not just a social group of people that have the same ideals. We need to shape society for the better. Wonderful point. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think I do, actually. Sorry.
No, all good. People can come along to our sessions to hear more from you. And so the wonderful Aurora is coming up next. Hello, Aurora.
Hiya.
Hiya. So you're our events manager.
Yeah.
You've been with Gen Soc from our first year,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
And how's it going for you?
Good. I mean, I didn't expect to be part of the exec at any point when I first thought about joining societies. I'm tangled. Okay. But it's definitely been a bigger part than I expected it to be. Like when I first looked at societies, I had about way too many lined up. I was like, I want to go to that one and that one and that one. Then I realized I don't have that much time in a day. So I had to prioritize it. I knew that gender equality was one of my main priorities. And yeah, so at the beginning I was just I had no idea what to expect from it. I couldn't imagine what you could do. I was just okay, these are set things. That's just how it is. You either think it or you don't. But I've learned a lot. Yeah, so it's been great. Better than expected.
Good. What encouraged you to run for the exec position?
I'm not quite sure actually. It was mostly just why not? It wasn't necessarily a thing I need to do this because I was I'm sure there are other people that'll be equally as qualified or wanting to do it. But it was mostly just in case no one will do it, at least someone will be there. But it was just try it out, how it is being part of a society exec and if any society, this is the best one to go for.
Oh,
so yeah.
Yeah, what made you choose Gen Soc over the other societies that you were looking into?
I ended up going to quite a few societies, but in the end, Gen Soc's atmosphere just fit me best. It was mostly what I liked. I know it was relaxed, but still you could voice your opinions without anyone being "What are you saying?" And as Victoria said, even if you have a different opinion, it doesn't matter as long as you're respectful towards others. And that just I really like that. So yeah.
Yeah, we're a great bunch, aren't we? I know it sounds like we've just been upselling ourselves, but all of these things are true. Yeah. So I'm going to share, just to wrap up the podcast with a little bit from me. So I'm the communications manager. I started it with exec last year, and that was something from from the get-go that I really wanted to be a part of, and I'd been thinking about starting a feminist society the year after. And then Ashley approached me and was like, yeah, I'm starting a feminist society. And I was like, oh my God, yes. Having like a solidarity and the sense of community that you get, I think that's the biggest thing I took from feminism. Like on a personal level, my whole life, it was just a given I was getting a nose job. That was it. I had like my whole life plan. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to drop off the grid a little bit after uni, save up some cash, get a nose job before I get my graduate job. And that was like 100% the plan. And then getting into feminism, I just got this incredible sense that if any other person ever felt like they wanted to hack off a piece of their body, that just breaks my heart, and it makes me so mad. And yeah, it just makes me so upset when you think of anyone who has these body issues and these horrible self-image issues. It's heartbreaking, and that is the fault of a society that is completely annihilating beautiful feminine natural qualities. And for me, that just gave me this sort of strength and compassion to treat myself with, because I wouldn't want anybody else to have to suffer from that. And so that gave me the strength to sort of deal with my own body issues and have this wonderful sense of solidarity with other people who were trying to overcome those issues and wanted to lift other people up and empower each other. And I think that's a really important aspect of feminism, to support one another, to raise each other up, and just have this beautiful sense of community and to love yourself.
That sounds amazing. No, but I think I just wanted to add to that, just because I think when you realize those kind of things, that you're under those pressures and like you're telling yourself all these horrible things that you're told to kind of look down on yourself about, like it does kind of foster a lot of rage. At least it does for me, and I think the feminist movement is really associated with like people being angry, and that's one part of it. But I think what also has happened, what I feel like more and more, the more I kind of engage in it, is that it's not really like a negative type of anger. It's like it's kind of like, okay, we're gathering together now and we're doing this. And I think what's more the sort of tone in the movement right now, for us at least in our society, is one of compassion and kind of like tolerance. And what Aurora said as well, like it creates an atmosphere that's more suitable to like that you want to be in. And it ranges from more than just the interest in feminism and this movement. It's like if you have that kind of approach to be tolerant and compassionate to other people, that kind of ties into no matter what you're like, regardless of what you're talking about, you're going to be so much more accepting to other people. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, just jumping in on this topic as well, I think what you were saying about your personal experience, one of the most amazing but at the same time saddening things about joining a group like Gen Soc or any community that does what we do, is that you realize that your experience, however isolating it was while you were experiencing it, is actually so deeply universal. And as you were saying, and as Nicole and both Esther as well were saying, it fills you with rage, but it's not an aggressive rage. It's a why do I have to go through that? Why did I have to spend my entire life thinking that? And I'm not saying like, and I say my entire life still counting these minutes. But that being said, also referring to Gen Soc more specifically, it made me like, it got me close to a group of people who are helpful and are there when you need them, but not in any sort of fake way. So I know that if this group of people, if I share an insecurity, a problem, an issue that I have personally with myself, with this group of people, the response I will get are probably going to be positive, but not because they have to be positive, not because they need to be positive. It's not fake. It's just a genuine response coming from the personal experience that we all shared, and the fact that we all learned from the feminist movement how to be tolerant, how to be loving, how to be acceptable. And that is absolutely essential that people know that that is the essence of the feminist movement. It is an intersectional, loving community. And that's what I absolutely love about it. And I think Gen Soc is a perfect example of that, of what I think feminist movement is, and the feminist movement that I personally believe in.
Yeah, I think I don't really know what to say. I think it's the same. I think as soon as you kind of like dip your toes into being around people that are like-minded in this type of way, you never really want to leave it. Like there's no way to go back after you've sort of like started engaging in it, because you want to pass this on to coming generations. Like all the struggles that you say are so universal, that you see that everyone's gone through there. You don't want this to be something that everyone has to go through.
No, I
It's
feel
horrible.
like it opens up your eyes. I personally come from I don't want to say privileged background because that's not the truth, but privilege in the sense of the amount of acceptance that I have felt growing up, and the fact that to me gender equality was also was always a given, as somebody else pointed out. But once you join a community like this, it kind of wakes you up, and you kind of go, oh wait, not everybody were as lucky as I was to have the same experience. And that's also amazing, the fact that you can make yours experiences that wouldn't otherwise be yours, but in a good way, not in an appropriating way.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant segue to talk about intersectionality as well, is that everyone has differing experiences and they're all the result of this larger system that we recognize as patriarchal structures that are harmful to everyone in different ways, regardless of socioeconomic background, ethnicity, religion, gender. And, like, for example, growing up in the working class background, I feel like I had specific issues that tied in with gender, and I could recognize those tying in for other like underprivileged men and women and people of different ethnicities in that environment. And then to come to university and to speak to people, as you said, from different backgrounds, be it like class or religion or any of the factors that intercept with one another. I think that's been, again, we were talking about tolerance, and that's been a wonderful opportunity for growth in that regard, for being tolerant to other people's viewpoints and recognizing that no matter how different somebody is from you, everyone is dealing with these issues on a different level. The like cliche that everyone's fighting a battle you know nothing about. So yeah. So yeah. Yeah, John, you're middle class, I'm working class. You can contribute to the
I know.
the
Well,
class
that's the thing. It's very
aspect.
difficult to have anything to say about this. Sorry about the dead air there.
It's all right, I'll edit it.
Because I am just this grab bag of various privileges, being a white middle class straight man, which feels like a cliche to say as a white middle class straight man. But the fact of it is, and cisgender, I am a lot more privileged than well, every other person in this room, I suppose. And it's been really interesting to talk to people about that and talk to people about their experiences that were so contrary to mine across their entire lives. And then think about how your experiences have led you to where you are at the moment. Everyone here has told me some horrific story at some point or another that's just made me go, oh, okay, that sucks. I've not had to deal with anything like that. And it is quite humbling, I suppose, to have that. I make us sound like we're really down. I make us sound like we're really boring and depressing, and we just talk about how we've had horrible things happen to us all the time, and I just sit there and sort of absorb it all. That's not what we do. Please don't think that.
In reality, our session are just like a one-on-one with John, when each one of us just goes, John, so this happened. John goes, oh boy, and just like that's our session.
It's a great fun. It's a dark like police interrogatory room where you just come in and you sit down and you tell me a story that makes me probably cry, and I just deal with it. It's fantastic. Join Gen Soc.
So if people who are listening have never been to a Gen Soc session, I can 100% guarantee that this is a wonderful example of our personalities and how tragic all of our conversations are. Because we were all serious in such a serious mood, and then we went and just gone completely off topic with it.
Entirely my fault.
On a more serious side, yeah, going back to like my serious voice, whatever that is. I also feel like what John was saying was for me completely relatable in the sense, but in a different way, because I don't know if mom and dad are gonna be listening this far. If you are, I love you both. Because it ties to them. I come from a background of inner family circle, which I believe to be quite privileged, middle class for sure. My dad is in the forces, which means that I had privileges growing up, but at the same time, my mom does not have the same privilege. My mom was working class like you, and my grandparents are still are, and I don't think there is any, like, I don't think my mom will have any problems with me sharing that because of how she is as a person. But what I was trying to get to was that I certainly, when I relate to my family, the struggles that my mom had to go through are so completely different that despite the fact that I had struggles, I had difficulties, none of, they're not on a fight, they're not a competition, but they're because they're on two different levels, that if I hadn't had her as a mother, I probably wouldn't have been able to understand better. But if that hadn't been the case, joining Gen Soc would have definitely started me through that point of view, would have initiated me more. I was lucky enough, in a sense, to already come from a background where I could understand some things, but definitely, like John was saying, it is eye-opening and interesting as well to understand what the differences are.
I just wanted to add like a quick thing about kind of engaging in feminism from the start, like when you start getting into it, because I think one big prejudice about it is that it's this horrible like effort that people like put it off and they like don't engage because they feel like they have to put in so much work to kind of like they have to change so many things about what they're used to, how they're used to dealing with life and people. But I think and there is a lot of work that goes into it when you have to like check yourself and to do things to challenge yourself internally and the way you treat other people and engage in activism. There is a lot of work that goes into it, but I also think there's a big part of it that's like this relief and weight off your shoulders when you join the movement. That it's more liberating than anything, and it kind of like it gives so much more energy than it actually takes, I think, which is important to highlight. To me,
I think
at least.
that's a great point, because it's liberating and it's freeing, and you suddenly recognize these structures that have been holding you back and these ideals and these stereotypes. And yeah, you're liberated from those, and you just feel
like wow, I can actually like, I don't have to be in this box anymore.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, this guy, I was totally in love with him. And I was around at his house, and I was sat, legs open quite like I am now, just
Man-spreading.
Sat man-spreading on the sofa. And he was like, "Oh, well, that's really ladylike of you." And I can remember my heart dropping, and just instantly, like, I had a bolt at my backside,
like,
and just
no,
popped
he
up.
doesn't
and
think
crossed,
I'm attractive
yeah,
now.
and crossed my legs, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so manly," because I was sitting like that.
Yeah, there's such like so many tiny things like that just like.
Yeah, and you look back,
creep.
yeah, and I cringe, and I feel, but again, it's empowering, because you're like, no, I'm never gonna let anybody speak to me or make me feel like that again, and you're empowered from it, and you can get over it, like see those moments as lessons rather than something to be ashamed of, and actually realize that they are wrong.
Yeah, I feel like if you to make a metaphor out of it, like if you consider yourself like you're inside a box and everyone's inside a little box, and it takes a lot of energy to kind of break out of it, and it takes a lot of energy to help other people break out of theirs, but eventually you're all going to be out of the box and you're going to be together, and it's going to be so much more freeing. It's just like it's worth it in the end.
I like my box.
Of course you do.
My box is fun. My box is a sofa and Netflix. It's great.
It's a nice box of privileges, and we all do have a lot of them, and I think that's a big part of what we do at Gen Soc as well, like acknowledging privileges and trying to equalize the playing field for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone must sort of feel like the experiences and conversations that we have with one another is like a big part of what we enjoy about Gen Soc and what we find valuable in Gen Soc. And of course, we all run fabulous sessions each week, but the floor is always open to people talking about it and interrupting us and giving their opinion about it. And I think it is really, really important to make sure that we maintain that and to make sure that new people come along and give us their opinion, because it's different than the people that have been here for a while. And it's interesting to always have people, bring new opinions and new experiences into the fold.
Yeah, like for me as well, I also come from quite a privileged background. For me, it's really interesting and also very eye-opening to like sometimes just listen to opinions of other people where I'm like, I never thought of that. It's never crossed my mind before. I've never experienced this, or never read about. It's just never happened in any way. Come across to me, and I'm like, I really like that because it makes you not necessarily like, it makes an impact, and in the end, you like realize you're not necessarily doing something wrong, but you could like change what you're doing. You could change the way you're thinking or like speaking, because changing the way you're thinking is a bit harder than speaking. But think before you speak and everything. But like I've really liked that part of Gen Soc that just gives so many different opinions and views that you just never expected before or just never thought about. Yeah.
Yeah, and as we've gathered, one of my skills is dragging people along to Gen Soc and recruiting them. I dragged along my little brother, and when he first started, he was amazed. It was like, he was mind blown, and he was like, I don't even know whether I should believe this. That, like, what, guys actually whistle at you when you're walking down the street? He was like, I've never seen that before. And I'm like, okay, well, can everyone in the room put their hands up? And basically almost every woman that's in Gen Soc has that experience or has had the experience. And yeah, he's in his little, he's quite content in his little box, and now he's out the box and he's loving it, which is great. It's so wonderful, again, when you can see the society allowing people to develop like that and really giving people insight, and that's one of the beautiful aspects of our society, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like the most exciting thing to like, because I feel like we're all just growing together. Like you can see how everyone's just kind of like leveling up all the time, and especially like sometimes I can even like feel the tension in a session when we've gone through something special and we've had a discussion and we've kind of reached a point where everyone's like, oh shit, we really like broke through some ice here. What's going on? We all learned so much. I think that's like my main focus for the society this year as well, is to really like try to encourage people to join, to dare to join, because I know that a lot of people want to join, but it seems really intimidating to sit in a room full of people who claim to be feminists, and it can seem intimidating and horrible, and as if you don't have anything to contribute, but you do. And I think everyone should give it a try.
Especially based on the stereotypes of bra-burning feminazis that are raging all the time. So I think that's a wonderful example, because we've spoken so much about compassion and tolerance and understanding and opening up to other people, and that's what we do, and it's not a scary place to come.
And it's okay if you don't know everything. That's why we're there, to all learn together.
Let us learn together.
Just to say my one last thing is that it's also an inspiring group of people. When I say that I've learned so much, it's because even yesterday night we had a session that I was running, but when I run the session, I'm fully aware of the fact that nobody put me there but myself. So I don't have the claim to be imparting knowledge on anybody. My knowledge is based on research that I've done. It was inspiring to me yesterday, the first point, for example, where I just did my first point, which was a definition of feminism. And I just put a random definition from the Oxford Dictionary. But the definition referred to sexes. And somebody from the room, very smart, I don't know the word to say, but in a way that really really made me think and realize that shit, I don't check myself all the time, which I should. Somebody pointed out and said, well, is feminism about the binary sexes or is it about genders? And I said, oh, wait a second. Obviously, I mean the genders, but it just didn't even cross my mind. And I was running the session. I was like, this is why I love this place so much, because it's humbling, because you never reach the point where you know too much. That's it.
Well, I think that's a wonderful place to wrap up our second episode of a podcast of one's own. Thank you so much for everyone who's listened in, and we'll catch you at our next podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.